If you're a fan of classic B-grade movies, you likely have a few actors whose work you enjoy watching again and again. One of those actors was the late Robert Z'Dar. He was one of the most popular movie stars in the B-movie industry. He began his career in the mid-80s and became a star in 1988 when he played the lead role in the film Maniac Cop. Let's take a look at the incredible life and career of Robert Z'Dar. Early life. Robert James Zdarsky was born June 3, 1950 in Chicago. He was born with a rare condition called cherubism, which led to him developing an enlarged jawline. This later led to his distinctive and menacing appearance, which worked well for his film career. He began acting during his teens as a student at Proviso West High School. He returned to his native Chicago and began his career not as an actor, but as a police officer. One wonders if he knew then that he'd become a star by playing a ruthless NYPD cop. After his policing career, he performed in the band Nova Express, wrote jingles for commercials, and even danced as a member of the Chippendales troupe. But he knew he was destined for bigger things. In the 80s, he moved to LA to pursue a film career. Before we tell you more about Robert Z'Dar's life and career, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more. The 1980s. In 1985, Robert landed his first role in the B-movie Hellhole. This was a women in prison film which was a popular genre that first came to prominence in the 70s. The film was about a woman who gets committed to a mental institution run by a mad scientist. Robert played a supporting role and was credited as Robert Darcy. He clearly loved the experience and made an impression with his role. He continued to act in B-movies throughout the 80s, including Hot Chili, The Night Stalker, Cherry 2000, The Killing Game, and Grotesque. But it was in 1988 when his career took off. He played the role of Matt Cordell in the film Maniac Cop, directed by Bill Lustig and written by Larry Cohen. The film is considered a cult classic and spawned 2 sequels. In fact, Robert was interviewed for a special edition DVD of the film where he fondly recalled memories of working on it. In Maniac Cop, his character is a police officer who is slain in prison after being wrongfully imprisoned for police brutality. He wakes up as an undead cop and begins to wreak havoc on others. The film showed that Robert Z'Dar had an incredible knack for playing antagonists and frightening characters. While the film didn't receive too many favorable reviews, it is a favorite for fans of B-movies and exploitation films. Comedian Neil Cicierega recorded a song called Two Trucks in which he mentioned the film and Robert Z'Dar. He ended the decade playing the character of Face in the action film Tango Cash featuring Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. This was one of the few mainstream films he appeared in, and just as he did in B-movies, he managed to steal the show. Whenever he appeared in a film, audiences always took notice of his incredible appearance and memorable acting. His other notable films in the 80s included Killing American Style and Young Rebels, both films in which he played the main villain. These films were directed by Amir Shervan, who would later direct Robert in a classic B-movie in the 90s. It was clear that Robert was destined to work in films for the remainder of his career. The 1990s. In 1990, Robert Z'Dar appeared in the film The Final Sanction, directed by David A. Pryor. He had a lead role alongside Ted Pryor. Robert played Sergei, a Russian soldier who fights against an American soldier played by Ted Pryor. However, the two of them decide that dueling is futile and decide to join hands to fight against both governments who are hell-bent on war. The film was largely panned, but this didn't stop Robert Z'Dar from continuing his acting career. He appeared in the comedy A Gnome Called Norm, which was also released in 1990. He also acted in the 2 sequels to Maniac Cop, as well as Beastmaster 2. He was in the 1991 film Mobsters, which was a crime film about the creation of the Commission, the governing body of the American Mafia created by Lucky Luciano. The film starred Christian Slater, Michael Gambon, Patrick Dempsey, Anthony Quinn, and F. Murray Abraham. Robert played the supporting role of Rocco. That same year, he appeared in a straight-to-video action film directed by Amir Shervan, with whom he worked in the 80s. That was called Samurai Cop, and it's now considered a cult film. While not strictly a comedy, the film's hilarious dialogue and low budget has made it one of those so bad it's great films. Robert Z'Dar played Yamashita, a villainous henchman for crime boss Okamura. This film is one of Robert's most famous works and is a great introduction to anyone not familiar with his career. In 1993, Robert played the lead role of Sam Hell in the apocalyptic film Return to Frogtown. This is a fantastic film to watch if you're a fan of films about mutant frogs at war with mankind. He also acted in other science fiction B-movies like Future War and Pocket Ninjas. He ended the decade playing Assface in the comedy film Tyrone, which also starred Ethan Suplee, Kevin Connolly, and Coolio. The 2000s. Robert didn't slow down as he entered the third decade of his career. He appeared in 2 episodes of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, which was one of his rare TV appearances. He acted alongside Michael Madsen, Todd Bridges, and Charles Napier in the film The Thief and the Stripper. This was a low-budget crime film, which was Robert's specialty. But he also branched out to other genres in the 2000s. While he had been in some frightening films before, he began appearing in more horror films during this decade. He appeared in the 2002 horror comedy film Trance. He also appeared in a lead role in the comedy film Mob Days. He followed this up with the horror films Vampire Boulevard and The Rockville Slayer. He continued acting in low-budget horror movies for much of the remainder of the decade. He continued to show how hardworking and dedicated he was to his work. In 2002, he suffered a back injury while working on a film. That didn't slow him down, though, and he continued to act for the remainder of the decade. The final curtain. By the time 2010 came around, Robert Z'Dar was a living legend in the B-movie industry. He appeared in the spoof comedy film Not Another B-Movie, which parodied the B-movie industry and the cliches from various films. He acted in the crime film Salvador's Deli as Salvador, a pizza shop owner who gets mysteriously killed. He played a ghost in the thriller The Voices from Beyond and had a lead role in the adventure film Death from Above. He also appeared as a comic version of himself in the short comedy film The Perfect Candidate, where he played Joe Estevez's running mate as the latter ran for president. One of his last major film roles was as Sheriff Dumas in the action film Mountain Mafia. This was a film about a gang based in the Appalachian region. It was released in 2012. In 2015, Robert attended the Pensacon convention in Pensacola, Florida. He began experiencing serious chest pains during the event and checked himself into a hospital. He was hospitalized for a month, and sadly, his condition worsened. He died of cardiac arrest March 30th, 2015, at the age of 64. He'll always be remembered as an icon of B-movies and one of the industry's most prolific actors. He even had a few films released posthumously. The most recent film, Spring Fever, was released in 2020. This is a comedy horror film about a spreading infection that's meant to control the population. Robert played the supporting role of Rothschild DeVille. This was his last role, but knowing him, we wouldn't be surprised if there are more films of his waiting to be released in the coming years. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Robert Z'Dar got his due as a cult film actor? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.